What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And this video is a long time coming. So earlier today, just off of a UFL gaming session, hop on to eFootball. I had a couple hours before I went to the real football field, and I figured let's get a little session with eFootball, show whoever wants to join in what Division 3 is all about. And as I hop on, I'm still seething about the UFL experience and kind of putting two and two together as to how much is broken and what this patch is really going to do, or this March update, whatever you want to call it in UFL. And next thing you know, my eFootball Division 3 streaming session becomes a venting session for UFL. To make things worse, I then start getting matched up with these demons on Division 3, right? I'm Division 3, like 8 to 10 days into even playing the game at all, and going from AI opponents to lower level to mid-level, whatever, opponents, just freshly learning some things that help me become somewhat successful, but being nowhere near the top in eFootball. And I'm expecting, okay, I'm going to play some other players that are at similar level to me. I go in, not only are these teams maxed out with the very best players across the board, but I look at the rankings, I'm facing top 100 players. I'm facing top 1,000 players. And yes, I wasn't focused at all. Like I said, it turned into a venting session about UFL. But next thing you know, this whole experience with eFootball comes to a halt because I realize there's no way that I'm going to be able to go anywhere playing against this high of opponent. I have so much work to do before I'm ready for that level. And if this is how the matchmaking is, if it's such a high jump when you go from Division 4 to Division 3 and boom, you're facing, top players already, well, then there's no way I'm going to have that time to work on the things I need to improve. Now, I know that it won't be every game that I face these type of teams, but you're talking 2 different sessions. You're talking 6 games, and I've played 3 or 4 top 100 players, and then the other 2 or 3 were top 1,000 players, because it says it when you look in the match history. So as I'm, venting about UFL, not focused at all, and then I'm playing these God squads and these top players, then I go in and see that in the game history. And now eFootball threw me a curveball, and it's like, man, I don't want to mislead anybody on these games, which is why that venting session happened at UFL. Maybe to some people I'm taking it too serious and I should just play the game, create what I want, and then go from there. However, me personally, when I started, getting more serious into gaming and was looking for some guidance to catch up on kind of the beat of these games, how these games work nowadays, right? Because I've been gaming for 31 years, but things change. And when I wanted to take it more serious, I was looking for some help from YouTube content creators on some of the nuances of the games in different things that I needed to learn that I wasn't aware of. And what I found was you're going to get a lot of nonsense, non-information content creators. You're going to get a lot of developer pleasers, if you will, that just won't say anything bad about the game, which means that anything you hear from them you have to take with a grain of salt, because half the time they're just downplaying the issues and making the game sound better than it is, almost like they work for the development companies. And then you also have the players who want to keep their views up, want to keep their subscribers up, so they don't want to say anything that might lead players away from playing the game, right? Because the players watch their content since they play the game, right? So what I'm trying to get at is you find a lot of BS and you have to sift through it, and it's very hard to find honest guidance where you're going to get the honest truth about each of the games so you don't run into any surprises, right? With that being said, I want to start getting more of a organized channel with, if I'm going to cover 3 games, having days in which I cover each of the games, having content that subscribers and that people looking for guidance or to watch certain videos know when to look for these videos, right? Because the difference between covering 3 games and, say, just covering UFL or just covering even UFL and FC is that there only might be some videos that some subscribers want to follow. Other stuff they might not be interested in. And if there's no rhyme or reason to it, well, then they may not know when they're going to get certain information, right? They may not know when the next tactics video is coming out for UFL. they might see a video pop up, notifications on, and oh, it's a FC tactics video. Or they might be looking for an FC, player review, and next thing you know, the next 3 videos are of eFootball and UFL. And so I don't want to be like that because there's no rhyme or reason. I am going that route of just playing what I want to play. So from a player's point of view, it makes sense. From a content creator's point of view, it doesn't. However, on both the content creation and the player side, I'm having a problem on how much time and commitment I want to put into each of these games, especially when I don't know, exactly what the game brings to the table. Let me break that down for you, okay? Because I was more venting earlier on the stream, and I got a lot of thoughts out that needed to get out, but it probably wasn't making much sense, or it was more in a pissed off manner, right? And when you're on full tilt like that and upset about things, you're not going to speak totally rationally or irrationally at all. So what I was trying to get at with that is I can only guess, just like the rest of you, where UFL is going because it's a brand new game. All I can do is play the game, see where it's at, and make an educated guess on what is needed, what they're truly able to fix based on what they've already shown us in the past. And with the direction they've gone, I truly am not optimistic about this March update being good enough to make the game playable in the long run. Maybe players will be so used to this terrible gameplay that we have right now. Like if you turn on the game right now, the gameplay is so bad that when this update comes finally, the initial reaction would be, wow, it's much better. But in the long term, there's so much wrong with the game that there's no way, I see players continuing to play it without saying, you know what, enough of this. And B, new players, there's no way they're going to give it a chance because you have 2 other competitors that are much better. That's just my honest to goodness thought of the matter as my puppy chokes in the background. Sorry, but he's okay. And that's where I'm having the biggest problem is I don't want to start covering this game and say, guys, play UFL and here's these tactics and this game's this and that, when I don't even see it lasting. Like, I got to be honest, right? With that being said, that's not even talking about the fact that everyone pretty much now, as long as you've somewhat played the game, has a maxed out 91 squad, which 91 is the highest rating you can have currently in UFL. So then it begs the question, what happens after that? How long until the players are just bored because there's no more, team building to do? There's no more motivation to play the game outside of just like, hey, let's play football, right? Now look at FC as a comparison. As you go, you get the game, you have your gold players. And then you go from gold to the first promo. Usually it's team of the week, right? And those players will go into your squad. Then team of the weeks are replaced by this promo, then this promo. And you go from like 87 to 88 to 89 to 90, all the way to footies, which is all 99 rated players. And it works perfectly because by the end of the year, your squad's maxed out. You've had good pack luck, bad pack luck, whatever. You've had some good players that you wanted. You've had others that you weren't expecting, but this card ended up being amazing and they're in your squad. And then you competed, right? You did good, you did bad, whatever. And now the game restarts. And as much as some players don't like that restart and want to keep the players they earn, you have to have a plan if you're going to go a route like that. So that's where FC has a plan, they stick to it, and it works out very well because throughout the entire game cycle, you are continuously improving your team, right? Take UFL, I had the full lineup of all the best players you could want, right? Literally Holland up top. I had CR7 at cam. I had played enough with him where I turned him to a cam. Then from there, I had Messi on the right side. I had Son at cam at one point that I switched him with Ronaldo. On the left side, I had Mbappe. Okay, Udogie and Dumfries, both maxed out 91 rated wingbacks. I still have them. Van de Ven maxed out center back. Then I had Van Dijk maxed out before him. I think it was Rudiger, whoever maxed out. I mean, I was going from maxed out top meta players to, new maxed out top meta players. Goalkeeper Bono maxed out. So all I would have had to do after that was have a bench full of maxed out players and I would have been there. Now, did I put money in? Yes, because I got all the way to the top of the game before many players. And so the only way that I was going to be able to compete with the other Premier League players is by getting these other meta players. Little did I know I wouldn't even be competing with those other Premier League players. Like Zelonius is a content creator, and I saw the team he had. He was another top 10 player. But because he was in Europe, he played other European players that were also Premier League. In my area, it was playing all, like Ruby players. Mainly, that was the most common division of my opponents when I was in Premier Division, because a lot of players hadn't made it. That's all besides the point, though. What I'm trying to get at is, once I had all these top players, there was nothing else to do. There's nothing else to play for. As the game started taking a bad turn, I ended up selling all those meta players and started doing experiments, putting center backs up top and wing backs at center mid and trying to see if it mattered, testing out attributes and their effect, testing out skins, a team full of center backs, all these different things. That's what I did, is kind of showed this ridiculous side of the game. And a big part of that was, one, because this is how you make a better game in the future, is you show the things that need to be improved. And two, it was a way to make the game fun because it was so dry. And that is not going to change. Everyone just focused on this update fixing the gameplay. But once that's all said and done, now you have some silly, versus AI mode for nonsense rewards coming. That's not going to do anything. That's not going to move the needle. And then other than that, you have, the skins. Let's say they are like great now. Let's say they give you these crazy boosts and everyone wants skins now. Okay. But then once you have your full max out team and you have all the skins you want, or that's all you're going for is just better and better skins, it's going to get boring fast. And the fact that the game doesn't restart and they don't have any set plan, that makes it hard to commit to the game and commit to really telling players, get a team going. This is the best game, because it's hard to see that it's going anywhere that's going to make players want to stick to it, right? The same with eFootball. The more research I do on eFootball, and as much as I do get it a lot more now, a lot more than I did before, now that I understand what the game's about, I understand how their kind of promos, if you will, work, and I got Maldini, and so I saw how that worked and how much money I had to put in, for example, things like that. But the biggest thing is, even with eFootball, you see the different content creators, the different, social media posts, and they're not in a very good spot either. If you just go and do some brief research on your own, you would see the same thing. And so I have a hard time wanting to commit to that game, as well as promoting that game to other players, because I don't want them to start on their journey and be excited like I was. And then next thing you know, even if it's just the fact that once you get into Division 3, you pretty much face all these crazy good players, and it becomes a total different experience that's not fun at all. Because that kind of drastic jump, of course, anybody's going to struggle. And then it becomes, is it even worth it to keep getting destroyed every game to eventually get good? Because jumping from 10 days into playing top 100 players, it's going to be pretty hard to work on anything. So that leaves me with FC, the most hated of all, because they've had the most time to go in the direction that the player base hates them, right? And it's not as much the game, right? Because I have so many good memories with FIFA/FC. It's the developer of the game. So similar how to fans of Star Wars feel with George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars. Like, he made the whole thing, and the fans of the movie still turn their back on him and get mad at him because they almost feel like Star Wars is theirs. He made it for them, and now he's ruining it because of this, that, or the other. And so they get mad. It's almost how I feel about FIFA/FC. Is like, EA Sports, you made this game, but now it's ours. We're the ones who gave this thing life, and now you need to do what we want as players. And they finally listened. And so I put my hatred of them aside. I mean, I left the game strictly for UFL and didn't think I was ever going back. So there's some players who did not go back, and some that say they refuse. But the honest truth, if you're picking a football game right now, if it has to be one, I'm going FC all day, because UFL just isn't showing enough to give me the confidence that they'll be around for the long term, or at least with any type of good game for the long term. In eFootball, there's just not enough good press on them and not enough good things that I'm seeing from how the game is working. I do see the beauty in the gameplay and all the awesome goals and build up and stuff. I do see the idea behind the utilizing the AI and how a simulator can still be fun and there's still skill to it. I do see all that. But I'm just talking the way in which the game works, the way in which you get better players, the way in which these top players play a role in how good you'll do on the pitch, no matter how much or how little skill you have. All these things are where eFootball is kind of a turnoff to me. And again, I go back to FC. They have the most content. They have the best system, whether you like it or not, the restart every year. It works. You can't argue that it doesn't work. It's a gradual improvement all year. No matter what time of year it is, you're constantly looking for improvements in your team, right? You don't need all the R9s and all Hullets and all these players to be competitive. You can compete without them, right? Which I show, and you can look at all my videos and see it. And you also have a game that is as skill-based as ever, even though it used to not be, because they fixed the defense, right? Because they made all the exploits, null and void. It is now the most skill-based game where you're not going to be able to come in and know this type of shot or this type of exploit and win. You're not going to be able to not touch your defenders and win, right? In the other games, they have AI-heavy defense, or they have broken defense where the spacing's so messed up that you don't have to touch your defenders and the opponent will just run into you and you take the ball down and counter and score some type of way. Like, not to mention all the bells and whistles and the animations and this and that. So no matter how bad many people don't want to hear it, FC is the best game right now. So what some people will say is, okay, just play FC. Well, that's the thing. I don't necessarily want to do that either, because I love the idea of having alternate games. I love the idea of these games pushing each other, and I love the idea of covering multiple games. Now, if that's 3, then so be it. If that's 2, then so be it. But the problem is, on these other 2 games, eFootball and UFL, I just don't know which of the 2, or if either of the 2 even, that I can get behind. That's where I'm having the most problems, because both of them, as much as I want to get behind certain things, are showing a lot that I don't want to get behind. Like the crushing feeling of knowing that this is the type of opponents I'll face now that I'm in Division 3 makes eFootball, a game that I really don't want to play. All the things I'm seeing about what you have to do to get these different players and the lack of progress they've made, that's a turnoff, right? All of the nonsense I'm seeing with UFL and how the gameplay is now and the little that this new update is going to fix, that's a turnoff to the game. So that's the conundrum I'm having. Do I have a final answer? I don't yet. But I just had to put that out there that I'm having a problem promoting either of those 2 games or getting excited to get behind either of these 2 games. I'm talking UFL and eFootball. So let me know what you think, right? Let me know if this makes sense at all, and we will see where it goes. Keep grinding, keep having fun. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.